right, welcome back. This is Inside Pages on Metro Television, and it's getting more and more interesting. We've had a conversation about government's intention to engage the IMF and the implications for the economy and the ordinary Ghanaian. I had Mr. Joe Jackson, who did a yeoman's job in his analysis of the situation. And I also had a group of Ashanti youth who are saying they won't accept the apology by Senior Minister Yaw Safuma for, well, they deem it as ethnocentric. And they've used all kinds of words on him, but they asked him to come to Misha to come and apologize. They think that the statement does not suffice. We're now going to be dealing with one of the biggest stories that came up in the course of the week, and it has to do with scores of Ghanaians that poured onto the streets of Accra, and they were protesting what they term as the skyrocketing prices of fuel and food and all the other things that we use as a people, and also the bad governance that they've been witnessing under this regime. And so they want things changed. They finally appeared before, they showed up in Parliament and presented their petition to the Speaker of Parliament. The minority leader was there, the majority leader was there, and some other members of Parliament as well. And so we would be, ordinarily what would have done, structurally, as you do know, would have showed some videos before we start this conversation, but because we don't have a lot of time, whilst we're having a conversation, the videos will be showing. But let me just do this. We have some messages that I will be sharing with you before we start the conversation. And let me also say that our text line for today is 0249 155 646. 0249 155 646. Yes, you can see it beautifully advertised on the screens. 0249 155 646. But let me just read these messages quickly before I introduce my guests, my Arise Ghana colleagues. So we're going to IMF again. These people send us to slavery. Oh, that's coming from Mary from Ashaiman. This one's good morning, Moro. Awesome, great show. This is my first time watching. I'm stuck. Well, I'm happy you're stuck. Please be here. Don't go anywhere. Saturdays. This is where the real action happens. It says the point at which we have reached as a country is going to the IMF was precipitated by reckless borrowing for consumption, profligacy, and ostentatious lifestyle of the executive, financial engineering, pervasive corruption, and the intransigent posture of government listening to the voices of conscience. David Edu, Tema West constituency. Good morning. My name is Adams from Mile 7. It says, please, I want to know why they bring this e-levy, and also about the Ghana card. A friend of mine went for the card, but he didn't get his Ghana card, and he was told that his Ghana card will be ready in September. So I want to know why they brought this e-levy and the Ghana card. Thank you very much. And he continues to say Dr. Sibi Abua will be a good finance minister. Kweku in La Paz sends this one. Now, Innocent from Upper East region says MPP can tell lies, and that's too much. If the MPP can't pay COLA to workers and build cathedral, God save Ghana. Good morning, Ghana. Good morning, Moro. I hear people saying homegrown policies, but we all know our problems. But how to solve it has always been the issue, and that's been the bane of the corruption by political leaders. And there's too much corruption, and it's coming from Emmanuel Ankra Kingsley Kobina from Kumasi, and Emmanuel Ankra from Dansoman says, I really agree with the former president. Nana has taken this advice in good faith. Now, let me just end up with this one. This one here from Dr. Johnson. It says on the e-levy, they should reduce the rate significantly and redesign it, less of nuisance tax to make it acceptable to Ghanaians. If they do so, they will in fact make more money from the tax. But most of the reforms should be on expenditure cuts. And it says Ken is in charge of implementing economic policy. So if we want to achieve policy credibility, then he should not be part. It does not help the process. In fact, he should help matters by resigning himself. So that's it for some messages on Ghana's decision to engage the IMF. Now, let me come back in studio and introduce my resource persons who've joined us. Very hardworking, enterprising gentlemen who've joined us now. So let me, first of all, on my left, we say ladies first. And so, unless, of course, Hidayah doesn't mind if I start with the man on my right, okay? Prince Derek J is a leading member of Arise Ghana, and he's joined us in the studio. Prince Derek J, good morning. Good to see you, sir.
And a happy IMF Day to you on behalf of the people of Ghana.
Okay, all right. And let me also introduce now Hidayah. Now, how do you pronounce that surname? Is it Sunguin?
Sunjun.
Oh, Sunjun. Okay.
Sunjun.
Sunjun. Okay, so Hidayah Sunjun Ibrahim. Okay, so she's also a member of Arise Ghana. And my own brother, Sadiq Abdullah Abu.
Yes.
Abu, sorry, is also a member of, in fact, he's a leading member of Arise Ghana. So I think it's good to see you as well.
Thank you very much for having me.
Right, and the man who speaks for governance and security for this government, and that's a very good friend, Pargrib Wachidankwa, is also here. Pargrib, it's good to see you.
Good to be here, Moro.
And I hope you're fine, sir.
I'm very well. You
know
just ambushed me in the midst of.
No, don't.
In the midst
you're a strong man.
Rising.
No,
rising
you're a strong
young
man.
men.
You're a strong man.
But I'm happy to be here.
You've always held your own, so
it's good to be here.
You know, no shaking.
He should identify with the rising. We are at a point where we need to rise.
No, he says everything is fine. He says everything is fine.
I doubt if you would
You
agree.
doubt.
I doubt if you would agree to that.
Anyway, so I don't know whether we should start with perhaps picking your thoughts on Ghana's decision to go and to engage the IMF. And the reason I want to ask is because you were complaining, or you are complaining about how bad the situation is, at least with the state of the economy, bad governance, etc. The government has perhaps has started taking the steps that it believes will resolve most of the problems that you're asking it to solve. So the government decided to go to the IMF. Sadiq, you should be happy. Or let me start with Prince Eric J. Prince, you should be happy. I mean, it's listening to you. It's going to the IMF.
Well, I believe that good morning to your viewers is in order.
Okay.
And to my young brother who's been elevated to a very high office as a government spokesperson on governance and security, I think that he still has some room for climbing, and I would wish him well in the next administration, not the immediate, after several rounds.
Thank you.
Because it's obvious that they are exiting.
Right.
And I think that it is good news, and I would want to associate myself with the statement of the former president, John Dramani Mahama, on the IMF path that belatedly the current president has taken. In fact, it comes a day after the former president indicated that if they don't make a U-turn, Ghana's position will not be salvageable.
Right.
It comes on the heels of a massive demonstration by the people of Ghana to drum home the sentiments of Ghanaians after a lot of public engagements. And I would like to, on this particular one, indicate that we will be speaking on the different aspects. I'll be handling the chiefs and people of Accra.
Okay.
Yidaya will be speaking for the concerns raised and articulated by the women of Ghana,
Right.
whilst Siddiq will be talking about the Muslim community and other related issues, because we engage very widely, and we intend to engage even further as we move the demonstrations to Ashanti, back to Accra, Northern, back to Accra, Volta, back to Accra, Eastern, back to Accra, Western, back to Accra, till we've done all 16 regions.
Oh, so you intend to continue with this throughout the 16 regions?
Right. Ghana is not Accra, and Accra is not Ghana.
But is that sustainable?
Yes, it is. The people of
Won't you get tired at some
people traveled from other regions to come on
can't
day
you
one
go to their region?
and did not get opportunity to participate.
Okay.
Others from far were intending to travel on day two, but for the deliberate machination of government and the sponsoring of partisan elements within the Ghana Police Service, I believe that would have had a very successful day one and an even much more successful day two.
Okay.
Obviously, day two showed that we are capable of organizing stuff. In fact, you know me. I mean, I've been part of many demonstrations. He knows me. Well, I groomed him, and so I know he knows what I'm talking about. Having been at the National Youth Authority and being in charge of youth organizations and programs for 7 years, I don't think that I lack the capacity to organize, let alone to be part of a bigger organization that has very seasoned persons and very, sensible individuals being part of. Arise Ghana is an amalgamation of various civil society groups, political parties. I mean, more than 30 groups from the groups, and it keeps increasing by the day. There are lots of people who keep saying that they want to be part of it, okay, and want us to come to their region. In fact, some wish that we had started from their place, and so we will not stop until the president starts listening. In fact, they want.
But the president is listening because the president has gone to the IMF.
He doesn't even stay in the country.
Okay.
In
But
times like
he's
this.
in town. He's in town at the moment. He went to Portugal. He's back. He's back in town.
Well, the good news is that
Yes.
the president is back, but he's out as ECOWAS leader. He came only to meet ECOWAS, not to meet his people. The president has been aware of this demonstration, but decided to stay out, but for the ECOWAS meeting. The president wanted our demonstration not to happen because he didn't want his colleagues from Africa to see our demonstration, and therefore put the police up to what they did on day one. And I want to put on record that if you look at what the police did on day one, and you measure it against what the police did in Kumasi as far as the Islamic Senior High School demonstration was concerned, the IGP took some steps of interdicting some people. What do you think should happen to the IGP? Because he took personal charge of day one of the demonstration, and the regional command took charge of day two. So day two, region very successful. IGP disaster. What should happen? He should be interdicted, right? Or he should be sacked.
Well, I'll tell you what they want to do, actually. They're looking for you. They're looking for
Oh,
leaders.
well, we were with them. They didn't arrest us.
Okay, that's fine. I'll come back. Because if you check the...
Or you want to arrest us?
If you check the news wires, if you check the news wires, that we're being told that the IGP is looking for the leaders of Arise Ghana because they want to arrest you. But let me come to...
He should arrest the CD. He should arrest the CD and the dollar.
I want to... You're a businessman. I mean, you run your own organization. That's 3 Music. So I have 2 questions for you. I'll pick your brief thoughts on government's decision to go IMF. And also, second question will be, what really was your motivation for wanting to join this? Because you typically are not on the forefront of doing political things. You want to focus on your business and run it. So your thoughts on IMF, and what was your motivation for joining it?
I think, Ghana going to the IMF was inevitable, as has been severally said by the experts. I think that from January, a lot more experts that understood the worsening economic conditions had indicated that it was what we needed to enhance investors' confidence in, Ghana.
Right.
And we know the back and forth that has ensued from then, from government initially denying to now admitting. So I think that on the basis of the narrative that has been put out so far, it's in order, and obviously it's good to understand that the current government is humbled by the situation and not the initial grandstanding they were engaging. In terms of joining the Arise Ghana demo, I come from a sector that hasn't seen active state enablement for almost 6 years now. I come from an industry where, aside 20 of the 21 promises that was made to the sector is yet to be fulfilled, even with the one that has been able to be fulfilled. In this case, I come from the creative economy.
Right.
Government is still yet to execute it. And so representing such a sector and understanding the huge issues that is in the sector and the lack of active state enablement, and also regardless of the fact that even without that, we've been able to become the 3rd biggest contributor to the GDP, as was said by the president almost about 3 weeks ago. I thought that it was important. I joined the Arise Ghana demo to press home for active state enablement of the industries, to press home to ensure that state actors will be responsible regarding our finances. I took a very strong exception to the fact that almost $300 million was willed to one person, And for me, I felt that it denied the creative economy, because design and architecture is part of the creative economy. And so willing that amount of money to just a single person in some mysterious contracts, for me, I felt that it denied the creative economy the opportunity to have to raise capital via applying for some of these projects to be able to expand. And so for me, I felt strongly about some of these things, and these were some of the things that informed my resolve to join Arise Ghana, to press on for some of these things to be done.
Would you say that you have been impressed with the work that you and your colleagues have done?
Yes, I think we have. Most importantly, and then if you look at the second day, regardless of the state-sponsored intimidation that happened on day one, and if you look at the numbers that turned up on day 2, it was quite clear that myself and my colleagues were not the only ones that were feeling the pinch. There are a lot more Ghanaians that were feeling the pinch. There are a lot more Ghanaians that were feeling the harsh effect or impact of the reckless or irresponsible governance that was happening. And so for me, I think that amplifying that and getting other like-minded Ghanaians to join us to make that a strong statement to governments and state actors, I would say it's a success. Obviously, we would have to take this on the road to other 16 regions until the government would have to hear some of the concerns that we have and begin to align.
That's interesting. Hidayah, so what was your motivation as well? I mean, if you have any thoughts to share on IMF, I'll be glad as well, but it's not compulsory. But really, why don't you want to mind your own business? Why do you want to be a part of a group that's asking for better governance? I mean, what really was your motivation as well?
Thank you for the opportunity. I think that Arise Ghana is a civil society organization that seeks to put pressure on the government to implement better policies for women and children and for all Ghanaians. So as a mother, auntie, and a sister, I feel that this is the time for me to go out, advocate, so that governments will listen to the cry of women and also put up policies that is going to help them at least come out of this hardship. You know, when you look at women in Ghana, the jobs that they do are just petty businesses. And with this e-levy, they are mostly the target because they are the ones that send money across to buy things from their colleagues in other cities. So they are taxed and they contribute a lot to the socio-economic development of this country. Yet when there's hardship, they are the ones that are hit the most. I think that that's unfair. Look at the rural communities. Those are our sisters that move from those rural communities to cities. The challenges that they face because of this hardship. Some women even go to the extent of taking their kids out of school just to help them do menial jobs in order for them to be able to feed the family. I think that if you are looking at the Sustainable Development Goals, is it goal 4 or so, every child has the right to education. I think that is unfair. That government is making this country so hard for women and children. So that's the reason why I joined Arise.
I don't know whether we have this video. And Abdallah is the he's the lead producer for this show. Right? He's been ably assisted by Derek Adote. Abdallah, if you have the video, I'd like to show it. We had Kojo Ponkroma appear on Good Evening Ghana with Paul Adomotri. One of the things he said was that from the intel that they had picked, what they are very certain about is that Arise Ghana group intends to destabilize this country. So I would, fantastic. So let's watch Kojo Ponkroma and then I'll pick your thoughts on that. I'm happy that Paragraph is also here.
The Ofuase Iribe legislator and Minister for Information Kojo Ponkroma noted that the first day of the Arise Ghana demonstration was attempts by some individuals to destabilize the country. According to the minister, these acts are deliberate.
There's an obvious attempt to create instability in our country at this time. We don't need to mince words about it. And there's a trajectory. First, there was a group that wanted to demonstrate with weapons. Then there was this group that said they wanted to demonstrate at night or to demonstrate from the evening throughout the night till the next morning. And the police raised obvious security questions that it will be difficult to, this is even daytime, broad daylight at Obra Sport here in Accra. You have people attacking police people in this manner. Can you imagine what would have happened at night?
He also noted that, but for the intervention of the police, other similar protests could have landed the country in a state of insecurity, considering the manner in which the Arise Ghana demonstrators behaved on Tuesday, June 28.
You don't need matches for a demonstration to express your thoughts about something. So if what we are now seeing is anything to go by, then whatever intelligence the police suggested they had, for which reason they could not allow a demonstration beyond sunset, where they would not have visibility, is now to be strongly believed. And I say strongly that we should do well to separate the substantive issues we want to discuss from these illegalities.
The Ghana Police Service has also justified the use of tear gas and water cannons during the Arise Ghana protest on Tuesday.
All right, so that was the Information Minister. He was on Good Evening Ghana with my colleague Paul Adomotri, and that's the thoughts he expressed, that look, from where he sits and from the briefing he's had, there was a clear agenda to destabilize this country, and that's the briefing they have. Let me ask Pagri Bachidamko whether he holds the same position as far as what the information minister has said. Pagri Bachidamko, it's good to see you again. So you just saw the information minister. Is that the same information you have, that there was a clear attempt to destabilize this country?
So
and that's what the Rise Ghana group...
A very good morning to you.
Okay.
And to the other young people around the table.
Right.
I think that there are two issues you want us to discuss as introduction.
Right.
The first is the Rise Ghana demonstration, and then the second will be the IMF. So let me just pick it from there.
Right.
Now, I have looked at the Rise Ghana demonstration, observed the various conversations that they have had, especially with the timing of their demonstration from 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. The police asked that they tried to do it in the daytime. They didn't agree. It went to court. Court asked that it be done between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. The court also approved some routes for them. Now, on the third day of the demonstration, I come into town quite early. As early as 4 a.m. I'm in town. So on the third day of the demonstration, I drove through the Obra Spot before I even came to do the 6 a.m. news on Metro TV. And I saw at about 5:30 one young man. Mm-hmm. I think Metro TV even interviewed him at the time. Henry was on site, and I think he's called Selom Dramani or so.
Okay.
He had arrived a bit early with a lantern, stating that he had not seen the achievements of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo.
Okay.
Now, you have to remember as well that the lawyer for the group, Eduji, premised the integrity and character of Bernard Mona, who had done demonstrations in the country that were peaceful. But I have looked at the members in terms of front-leading members. The conversations changed a bit, which for me was a bigger concern, because at a stage I was beginning to think, is this an NDC demonstration? And in my mind, I'm like, if the NDC wants to have a demonstration, I think the law permits them to do so. You don't necessarily sometimes need to go behind a group to want to purport your own actions. With the greatest of respect to my senior Prince Derrick Ejay, who has been my very, very good friend for the past 19 years. In fact, to be fair to him, he was the first person to place me on Radio Universe when I was a student.
Okay.
And so he's my senior. But Mr. Prince Derrick Ejay, we know the side of the coin he follows. Likely Mr. Kamba, also who had to fly in from the United States of America to be a part of this demonstration. We also saw Mr. Sami Jemfi as well as a leading member, George Opariado as a leading member, Edem Adbana as a leading member. So clearly, if you look at the composition of the leaders of the demonstration, you can clearly say that 2/3 of them are active members of the NDC government. But it's not a problem. Now,
I'm happy. I mean, you see, I was just about to ask you whether you
that's
thought
not a
that was
problem.
material to the conversation.
No, that's not a problem.
Right.
So moving on.
Okay.
I believe that the first day was a clear indication of a riot, which for me, having observed demonstrations that are done across the world, especially for a 21st century country, and especially for well-meaning Ghanaians who also think like they think, who might have wanted to be part of the demonstration, but had turned out in the manner in which it had turned out, whom many of them returned back home because they were like, we didn't come for a riot. How do people go on a demonstration and they already have prepared stones? Even to understand, sometimes some of them were galvanized to come along with licensed ammunitions. But the police continually guide us throughout all demonstrations. And so for me, the first day was a bit of an apology on the side of the demonstrators. It was also unfortunate that many police personnel suffered injuries close to the tune of 12 to about 15 of that. I'm aware that, yes, a few of the demonstrators as well suffered injuries. Mr. Prince Derek J told me this morning that he suffered some injury by his arm with the immediate protection of a tear gas that nearly hit him. I'm also aware that Selom Dramani also said that he suffered an injury. I have asked him to send me the medical report to be sure if he did indeed suffer an injury. But really, to what end, Moro? It is sad for me to see that persons are hurt and are in hospital. It is sad for me to see that people have spent money to go on a demonstration whilst we could have sat around the table to have a peaceful dialogue. There were 6 things that they wanted to look at. Number 1, they wanted to look at the rise of fuel. Number 2, they wanted to look at e-levy. Number 3, they wanted to look at COVID-19 expenditure. 4, they wanted to look at state lands, including Achimota Forest. 5, they wanted to look at police brutalities. And then 6, they wanted to look at the Japadale reintroduction. Now, having considered all of these, I feel that on the very first day, they lost that curious moment of really engaging themselves and adhering themselves to the leadership of the country to listen to them. Because if it's an Arise Ghana, I mean, we have seen the themes of Arise Ghana Youth for your country, the nation, all of that. We've seen that. And so it's not wrong at all to want to go on such a demonstration. On fuel prices, you are aware, Moro, and even the people around this table, that from the very beginning of the year, after we had done our first quarter, the President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo held an extended cabinet meeting. After that cabinet meeting, he commissioned various measures to be put in place to mitigate the global impact on our economy. Now, the Bank of Ghana governor had a meeting on the Monday after the cabinet meeting to look into our policy rating. On that Thursday, the minister responsible for finance also had an extended press conference where he laid out measures that are being put in place from the government side to show extreme concern of the issues that we are all betrothed with. Measures including 30% of government expenditure cut off from MMDAs and municipalities, measures such as 20% of salaries of cabinet, measures such as Council of States themselves also cut off their salaries, presidential appointees, CEOs of state-owned enterprises, ministers and deputy ministers cut off of their salaries, 20% of that, 50% of fuel vouchers cut off, 50% of per diems cut off of meetings, moratorium on travels, making sure that we are not starting new public entities, and on and on and on and on. These measures were clearly put across board. The Minister for Energy, the Minister, the various CEOs under the energy sectors, clearly.
When you listen to, for instance, Sadiq Abdullahi, he has his own peculiar concerns. He has his own peculiar issues that he wants government to address. Now, from where he sits, he doesn't see any attempts being made to address those issues, and that's why he's on that demonstration.
Clearly.
The point I'm trying to make is that there were diverse groups of persons who had come together with different, demands and issues and things like that they wanted to address.
To be fair.
So, I mean, you see, they are not suggesting in any way that nothing is being done. What they are trying to say is that you have to work harder.
I agree, Moro, to be fair.
So if we're going to go back and
Moro,
list all the things that have been done, we'll probably leave here tomorrow.
No,
That's
we'll
what
not
I'm
leave here tomorrow.
Yeah.
We'll leave here today.
Right.
Moro, to be fair, there were leaders of the Arise Ghana group.
Yes.
And so everybody petitioned and added their voice to it. Amongst all the voices that rose were 6 key issues that they laid out. Okay, which obviously is a value chain of every single thing that would even impact his sector as well.
The creative sector.
On e-levy, Moro, you are aware that the digital economy has grown within this country. If Ghana is purported to grow to become a global giant like the Asian tigers, if Ghana is purported to grow to become a global agent like the United States of America, like Europe and Middle East, Moro, it is important that we allow the system to work through digitalization.
Right.
How do we end corruption? Is by taking away the constant interface of human involvement. And so the digital economy has grown, which the NDC and the MPP and the average Ghanaian and even investors would agree to it. From 2016, about 76 million in terms of the digital economy, rose up clearly from 2017 when our government took office to close to the tune of about 1 trillion Ghana cedis. Now, on e-levy, the major motive of putting together the electronic levy tax was clearly to expand the tax bracket. A country of about 30.8 million people, where you have close to about 8% of that population contributing significantly to income tax, is a greater worry. A country where 2.34 million people only pay their taxes is a great worry. And so in expanding that tax bracket, ensuring that the formal sector and the informal sector come into that bracket.
You see, Parker, I get where you're coming from. My only challenge is that these are reasons that have been given time and again. But there are also persons who are in the digital space who disagree with you. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I agree.
This, you see, so my point is, and they have given you other options that would have been less painful on the people. But one of the reasons why they are protesting is that it's almost as if you prefer to inflict pains on the people in the name of collecting tax.
Which is why
when there are
explaining.
other options you could have looked at. That's why they're on the street. But anyway, let me. I need to go around because there are 4 people here. If you speak for 15 minutes and there's
no, Moro, you see, let me just complete my point. I'm just going to summarize. Moro, I'm just going to summarize. No,
I beg you. You're spoken for long. Everybody spoke for just 5 minutes. You're like almost 15 minutes.
Moro, you see. No, Moro.
So please wrap up. You have just 2 minutes.
Let's go around. In fairness.
Let's go around. Moro is moderating. Yes, Moro is moderating.
The time is almost up. You see,
Moro. All right. So please land. Please land. So the others can also have a bite. Yeah, please land. Yeah, please do. Right.
Just 4 points, okay? COVID-19, Achimota land, police brutalities. On COVID-19, the Minister for Finance was in Parliament to render an account on expenditure. I won't go details into that.
Please don't.
On lands and forests, you are very much aware the strong leadership the minister responsible for lands and natural resources brought to bear of the then Gold Coast in 1876, as we had taken land to use for the purposes for a forest reserve. And there's been industrialization within that reserve. And we have stated categorically that the Achimota forest, as we so know it today, continually will remain the Achimota forest. And the issues of contention, which is the will that had come out into the public domain, the minister responsible for lands and natural resources has stated very clearly that there's an investigation that is ongoing, for which reason, when it is purported that those lands belong to the country, it is never going to the persons that those lands have been willed to. And then finally, on police brutalities, I have condemned, Moro, let me make this point and then I conclude. I have condemned very clearly some non-professional acts of the police, especially as it relates to the Islamic young students in Kumasi. But clearly, you have seen as well that immediately the IGP went into the environment and asked them to step aside, and investigations are being held. And so these are issues that are being addressed.
So
but we welcome their demonstration.
These are issues that have been addressed already. So
yes.
So for you didn't think it was necessary for them to have hit the streets to protest?
I didn't think it was necessary for them to have hit the streets. I think that it was necessary for them to come around the table for a conversation.
Fine. Okay. All right. Sadiq, you want to come in?
I didn't talk about the IMF.
I want to bring
I didn't talk about the IMF.
No, it's okay. You come. You talk about IMF. No problem.
I'll let Sadiq take us through the series of meetings that we held with the police before this event, and even the meetings that we held with the police on the day.
Right.
So if Palgrave suggests that we are some lawless group, I'm sure by the time Sadiq is done. But all that Palgrave said on the e-levy, his boss, Gabi, disagrees with him.
Okay.
And the people of Ghana do know today that they have managed to get only about 10% of what they projected to get.
True.
So in an exam, when you go and get 10%, what is it? Failure.
Well, that's a failure, obviously.
It's not just failure, it is potol. Now, you see, they failed potol. They said that they were either going to go for e-levy or go to IMF. Yesterday, his boss, the president, has indicated after his other boss, Gabi, had said that IMF was the way to go. Now, what is to become of the e-levy? They should just scrap it. That will be one of the 6 items off the table. I will deal, like I said, with the lands issue and the Greater Accra issues, and I'm hoping that you would allow us to segment our discussion so that it can be well structured.
That's fine.
Besides my having served in government and my not being a reckless person, of course, if I'd mentored a reckless Palgrave, he would not be the one speaking for government on governance and security. If the IGP intends to arrest us, Palgrave, tell him that he should come. In fact, we made ourselves available at a press conference shortly thereafter so they would know we are around and we haven't run away. And we indicated that we were going to do it, and we did it. And we did it very successfully to prove that we were not out there to do such a thing. In any case, in the morning of the second day, we were all available. I was with the regional commander and the director CID operations, who happened to have been the immediate past regional director of operations, who had been sent there from Dansuman as a commander, where I live and work with him.
Is that
for years.
Garba?
Asante. I was with them.
Asante,
If the police intended to arrest us, and all the leaders were there, they could have arrested us. I don't think that the IGP has any moral justification even to stay in office. He's the one who should be resigning, not telling people who he's going to arrest. Now, to the lands issue that he talked about, we have had town hall meetings, like I said. Many issues have come forward, and I'm sure many more issues will come forward as we go into other regions. In fact, the people of Ada Songo were here for the demonstration from day 1 and day 2. I'm sure you saw them. Your cameras picked them up. They came with salt, and they came with an issue concerning an executive instrument that President Akufo-Addo signed in November 2020, fearing the loss of the election and wanting to will the salt of the people of Ada to one man forever, to keep in trust for him, Akufo-Addo, and his family when they lose the election, in the event that they lose the election, so they can have some livelihood. Just like they've willed all the lands in Greater Accra. I would want by the time we leave here, the Palgrave should be able to call the IGP and ask him, who are those faceless people developing the cantonment's civil aviation lands? Because one journalist and some panel, like we are having here, indicated that it was the first lady who was doing it, and they've sent them to court. The police indicated that it's not the first lady, but they've not been able to tell us who is. It is not the wind that is building there. It is human beings, and that is state land. The thieves must be apprehended. Those are the people you should be arresting. People who are stealing state lands, unless it is your people, and you don't want to shield them. Like the police shielded one of their very own, who was apprehended as having been the first to throw the stone. Look, the narrative that the government is putting out today was pre-planned and executed. We have very good issues. We did not go to riot because we have good issues. The government wants to make it an NDC demonstration. There's a PNC women organizer here. Unless the government side is telling us that the PNC are NDC. In fact, there are several other PNC members. I'm sure she would mention them. There were other political party reps, including your own party's members. Listowell is a leading member of your party. Reku Bobe intended to come for the demonstration. He put it out there. Another founding member of your party, that is Dr. Reku Bobe, wanted to attend the thing. There's several people who wanted to. And I think that Achamfo is now NDC.
Oh, he's not NDC.
He's going to run in Ashanti region. Okay. That point must be made clear. But people are crossing carpet on a daily basis from the MP because it is no longer attractive. It's become family and friends. And some people are insulting Ashantis who are the owners of the party. Today you are seeing the senior minister, now advisor to the president, apologizing. And they're asking him to bring cattle and sheep like they did to Kwame in Ocheyene's palace. He must go there with an elephant to Otunfo, to go and slaughter an elephant and bring drinks and all that, so that the Ashanti people will forgive the party that they birthed. But look, to the lands. I know that successive governments have stolen our lands. I come from La. My father is the current Jasiche of La. He's the head of the royal house. I'm a royal. Your lands minister was asking Randy on his show, and he actually said that when they release the lands, I should not forget him. I have forgotten him. I had a meeting with him on the 14th of February, and I'm putting it out publicly today. He invited me to his office.
With Samara Bujinapo?
Yes.
Okay.
His deputy, Benito, was in that meeting. His chief director was in that meeting. He wanted to see my views before they released the lands and La lands.
Right.
And I told him that I have served in government. Yes, you know I'm knowledgeable in these things, and I can help you. However, I am not the one to show you how to do your work.
Okay.
If you have to give us 100 acres of land, give us just 100. Don't give us 101, and don't give us 99. And give us through the proper channel, like they did for the Otunfo. 409 have been released to the Ashanti people through the stew, the golden stew, but it was passed through the Asantehene. And even government officers, including military, have been told to move out. Plecho, the military are rather annexing the land. He, Abu Janapo, told us that he had written a letter to Nitu to get the military to stop the development. The development is ongoing. Are they telling us that they are not in charge of the military? Has there been a mutiny in this country? Is there a coup? Is that what is happening over there? But we do know that some people want to steal some extra land from the police, what do you call it, DVLA, all the way to Christ the King, where we're passing. They want to steal all that land and turn it into a new Accra City project. It will not happen today. It will not happen tomorrow. The thieves will not steal any more land. We are not going to wait for you to die for us to discover those stolen lands in your wills. No way. We want our lands back now. Okay. And I'm saying this also, please, just in capping up.
Right.
We do not have a La Mancha today, but we will soon have a La Mancha. And we still do have the last two, just like we have the Goldens too. So if the government is minded to return the La lands, it must be done the same way it was done in EI 432 for the Asantene, and it must be done the same way for other regions. Okay. They are stealing Volta lands and selling it cheap. They are stealing northern lands. Look, there is gold, there's several, in all over Ghana, north included. In fact, the Cardinal mine in the Upper East, which they have targeted for the Japa, that they want to steal. Cardinal mine is the richest mine in Ghana today, not Obuasi, not Ashanti Gold. It is Upper East. We know the machinations of this government. They want to, there's state capture. And I'm saying to you, it is complete. And the finance minister, before we go to IMF, must not only be sacked or resign, his data bank, his enterprise insurance, the enterprise group must be, all the assets must be confiscated. It must be nationalized because our money, the reason why we are in debt is because he has borrowed so that his companies can make money. We must nationalize those companies and make sure that the assets and bank accounts of Ken Ofriatta and other people who have captured our money are frozen.
I'll come back to you.
That is what the people of Ghana have been telling us in our public engagements.
Prince Minka has just sent me a WhatsApp message. Now, Prince and I worked at City FM at some point, and he's just reminding me, he says, Moro, you and I worked at City FM and we're friends. Do I look like a troublemaker for which the IGP wants to arrest me? Does Prince Derek J and Baba Sadiq look same? That arise, save Ghana now. And he goes ahead to say, prepared stones, tell him to show evidence. Sat around the table. When we did a press conference and issue statements announcing our intentions and outlining the issues, why didn't they call us to sit around the so-called table? If NDC leader joins the demo by a group, that makes the demo NDC? Well, I don't, okay, so it says on the land, we say drop EI 144, I mean forest. Where is the table? Vladimir Chidansu says our arrest will trigger instability. What has he seen? Okay, so that's from Prince Minka. Now, Alhassan D. Baba, who is our correspondent in the northern region, says Moro state lands are sold right, left, center here in Tamaleo. I see. Looks like Alhassan has some information on that as well. Let me.
So you see why we're going around the regions?
Yeah, well, he says similar things are happening in Tamale as well. He doesn't give us any details.
No, we know.
Sadiq,
Right.
like Prince said, there were a series of meetings that are taking place before the demonstration. So walk us through these meetings, so that we can come to conclusion as to whether this whole thing was state monies or you had you had ulterior motives and so on and so forth.
No, I mean, anybody from the IGP's office and anybody in government that seeks to or sought to suggest that we had sought to create chaos in the country with the demonstration can only just be a liar. I mean, anybody that has paid attention to activities would have realized that we've been engaging the right authorities for more than a month. I mean, the last time when we had the meetings, our initial meeting with the IGP and the police hierarchy was almost 3 weeks ago, informing them about what we intended to do, discuss the timelines, discuss routes, and all of that. Indeed, even after we've finalized all our intentions together with them, just 2 days before the demonstration, the police, in an act of bad faith, went to court to try to stop us.
Right.
Mind you, we have been engaging them for some time. We've had fruitful interactions and conversations regarding what we wanted to do and how we want to ensure that it's done properly. They went to court to try to stop us. Mm-hmm. Be it as it may, even at the courts, it indicated the converging point and where we were going to end. Regardless, the routes was not a matter that was finalized. Regardless, we also filed a stay of execution on that, and then committed to ensuring that we're going to have a very peaceful demonstration. On the day of the demonstration, we went to the police top hierarchy on the ground. We went to them, we discussed with them, we called them in and said to them that, look, we've gone to court, we filed a state of execution. This is the original route that we want to follow. Beyond that, we understand that for the same route that we wanted to follow on day one, you do not have a problem with us following the same route on day two. So if you do not have a problem with that, we're understanding that there shouldn't be a problem with that on day one, and so we can follow that part. Regardless, even if you allow us to follow that particular route, it's possible that we probably may end our demonstrations on day one and not move it into day two. So we want to follow the same route. They declined. There was no consensus. We had this, conversations with them. At a certain point in time, the conversations broke down. They left the meeting. So when they left the meeting, we decided that we were now going to stay at the Obra Sport area. We were not going to move further. We were going to stay at the Obra Sport area. And we told them that. So we began to gather ourselves. We converged at the Obra Sport area. There were declarations by the leaders of the group.
So it's not so the point was, it's either you grant us our wish, or we stay at the
Obra Sport area.
Oh, okay.
So, and we thought that was a very, very peaceful option, because staying at the Obra Sport area obviously would not go against what they are intended. And so we said that let's stay at the Obra Sport area, let's address our people from here, and then obviously we can postpone the demonstration to the next day. Since they do not have a problem with us following the same route the next day anyway, we can stay here. What happened? During the time when we are addressing the protesters, then we began to see tear gas being fired into the
You didn't
crowd.
go there with stones?
Nobody went there with stones. Do I move with stones? I went there with my car. Nobody went there with stones. You know, and indeed, even a video that you showed, you could see from the video that you showed that the first people to fire the tear gas was the police, not us. You know, but indeed, after firing and trying to brutalize the people were trying to resist it. And that's what we saw what we saw. But again, if you understand all these processes that we've gone through, and you know it, you will not be running in the night under a certain uneasiness, together with your narrative influencers, to try to create a different impression of it. And if you look at how consistent the police statement and the state's statement is, you could see that all of this was premeditated to create a very different vibe. Be it as it may, on the second day, we followed through on the same route. So what changed? And it was very peaceful, because this time around, and seeing the fact that the people were ready to resist any attempt to intimidate us, the police were in line, and all of those things. By the time we're done, the questions we kept on asking most of the senior police officers was, what changed? What happened? We understand that most of them indicated to us that they got a call from above. On the same day, on day one, they indicated to us that, look, on the ground, we are senior police officers on the ground, but there's a chain of command, and we take command from the top. The command from the top is that you should not be allowed to follow this particular route. So but you don't have a problem with us following the same route on the second day. So what's happening? But even regarding some of the issues that we've raised, Palmgrave indicates that we should come and sit around the table.
Yes.
How many engagements has been held on e-levy, for instance, by the people that understand it best? They throw words about digitalization, digital economy. They do not understand the nature and the inherent structure of the digital economy and how it breathes. They do not understand it. The people that are experts in this area, the people that actually run it, had different engagement through their industrial groupings, from the telecoms chamber, which represents the telecommunications, to different organizations that in the sector had sat with you and indicated to you that, look, it is not possible that you're looking for 5 billion. It is not possible that you are going to get this 5 billion. Most importantly, if you are not going to get it, don't disrupt a model that's going to drive inclusion in industry. Allow it to grow, because this particular model provides capital to people in society. This particular model enables a lot of enterprises that actually drives value for the government. So don't disrupt it. Don't impact it. Be it as it may, your Ministry of Communications, since they came in the last 5 years, cannot point to a single digital infrastructure they invested in to create an enabling environment for the telecommunications and people operating in the digital economy. And so if these people are leveraging on some of these particular models to be able to raise capital and create value for themselves and the state, you do not go about disrupting it without fully understanding where we are headed. You keep throwing words about digital economy. The digital economy is growing. The digital economy. Do you really understand what the digital economy is? And besides, if you're going to tax the digital economy, if you're saying that there is a particular trend where you think that people are not being paying taxes and everything, there's a way to do it. In Nigeria, when they developed their SMP, the significant market share, What did they do? They found a way to directly tax these particular platforms. So if your understanding is that YouTube was avoiding taxes, if your understanding is that the e-commerce site were avoiding taxes, there was a way to tax them directly without necessarily having to extend it to the consumer. There was a way to do it without necessarily having it. And massive engagements has been had. People had called them, including former members of parliament from the same government who were sitting on the finance committee. Dr. Sesibe made them aware that, look, don't disrupt this particular model. Go to IMF as far back as 1st February 2022, this year. A lot more people have said it to them. So what is Pamgrave talking about when he says that
if they won't
we should
listen,
come to the table?
So if they won't listen, then you hit the streets.
Of course. The same e-levy. A number, even when they went on their engagement, when they went on their tour, the feedback they picked, they know the feedback they picked. They tried to convince the people. They picked the feedback. The same government, the minority in parliament, are indicated to them that, look, go to the IMF.
Right.
People had requested to say, come and sit down. Look at the hell it took for the minority to call on the finance minister, for instance, to come and, account for COVID funds. So which engagement hasn't been, who has not been committed to coming to the table? We've been committed, and different people have been committed to coming to the table and had come to the government a number of times to try to sit with them and to let them understand how some of their actions were going to impact the Ghanaians.
Right.
But they did not listen, they did not heed to us.
Okay.
And they passed through some of these things. You saw how the circumstances through which they passed the e-levy, for instance.
Right.
We all saw it, we were all witnesses to that. And so what are they talking about?
What has been the...
I thought he was going to add the gentleman who threw the first stone. That narrative.
Yes.
We saw a video of a policeman throwing stones.
Not the one from the armored car.
Yes.
Not the one who had brought stones in the armored car.
So this is what happened. There was one gentleman who was clothed as a protester.
Okay.
Who's actually a police person.
Confirmed?
This guy, I saw him. I actually took I asked Prince David, I said, I saw him. I went to, and I can mention the senior officers. I went to Suraj. I went to Idi Lansa and told them that, look, this is the guy. This is the picture of the guy. The guy has been allowed to go into here, to this particular point. You saw the video where I was angry and livid at the police officer that slapped the protester.
Yes, we saw that. We saw that.
Now, the guy that led them to arrest the guy was that police officer disguised as a protester.
Okay.
I have his pictures here.
Yes,
I've indicated and showed the pictures to the guys. They protected him and allowed him to go into the police station. I went into the police station with Suraj and
You suspect he was an implant?
Of course.
He was
with them.
I went
to him.
He is an implant. When he was apprehended, we drew the police's attention, and instead of the police arresting him, they said they were not going to arrest him. We invited the media, almost about 10 stations, TV stations, covered the police's resistance to arresting somebody who we are the leaders of the demonstration. We have apprehended somebody, even if he's not a policeman, and he's one of us. And we have apprehended the person. We say, arrest this person. He's alleged to have been the first person to throw a stone. And you would not arrest him, but rather you bring 40 more policemen to protect and shield him, let him be in a room, possibly change into police uniform, melt into your fold. So when Suraj, that's the Director of Operations National, and the regional commander came, we went inside with them. The gentleman had disappeared like the 77 slabs of cocaine. He had disappeared into thin air. In fact, we have journalists amongst our fold. Prince Menkab,
that's the scene that Abu Sadiq was talking about.
Yes, so I will show you. I mean, maybe I should have sent the pictures. This is the Rastaman they arrested. Now, one of the guys that was involved in arresting this particular Rastaman was a police officer who was disguised as a protester.
That's interesting.
Now, this is why I found out. Myself and Edem Agbana were involved in trying to break up peace at a certain point in time. When the police wanted to intimidate the people and people were looking to fight back, we tried to calm them down and we're going to the police. I was trying to calm them down. I noticed a particular gentleman that was resisting it. And he was one of the guys that would throw the stones, and then so I saw him. So later when everybody had vanished and he had mingled or mixed with the police people, I went to him and I confronted him and said, look, you're one of these guys. You're a police officer. These guys, you're the first person that threw the stone. Some of the senior officers said, do you have evidence? I'm like, don't ask me for that.
Or don't belittle my intelligence.
Don't push through for those things, because you see, in the same way you guys had the drone at the same place, we had the drone because I was in charge of the live production that was happening. Okay. So we also had a drone. And so if I consult the drones and the various pictures that was there, you will see it. So when I confronted him, and then we were coming together and the senior officers were coming, they asked him to go into the police station. So while I was going to the police station, I took a picture of him. So when the senior officers came, I pointed it out to them, showed them the picture and said to them that they were there. You know, I went to Shuaj, I went to Idi Lansa, we spoke about it. They said we will send us the picture, we're going to investigate.
They must investigate that.
In fact,
it's important.
this guy, we know that this guy was put in there to try to instigate a reaction from the police so they can create the narrative that they've been trying to create.
That's interesting.
But the point is that from the police force, there is nobody from the IGP downwards that can suggest that we had plans to actually create a chaotic situation.
Right.
Because we have had fruitful, nobody will come to you to try to have a more fruitful engagement with you. They didn't invite us. Even though they were the demonstration, we went to the senior leadership.
And
we
tried to demand an apology.
So what was the point?
We demand an apology from Kojo Apon Nkrumah for trying to paint us as terrorists, as reckless people. He must apologize on TV, national television. He must apologize for those reckless statements that he's made and trying to link us to other demonstrations. I mean, we have nothing to do with those other demonstrations. We are Arise Ghana and we are doing a demonstration. Why go and cite other demonstrations and come and tag us? And I think that Professor Enin also was fed with false information that we are going to have a night demonstration starting from 10 p.m. He was corrected on TV. So if you feed such security experts with false information, what kind of advice do you think it will give you?
Let me Hidayat. So we have just 3 minutes to wrap up because we ran out of time.
You'll come to me.
Would you?
That's the tear gas.
Would you
your
say
guys
that
used?
just briefly, it was worth the while? This protest that you joined.
Yes.
Okay. What feedback have you gotten so far since the protest ended?
Were
people scared, family members scared at some point that you're going to be hurt?
Yes. My mom kept calling and some other family members were calling.
Okay.
But one thing I want to say is when you have a government who cannot translate his promises into reality, these are some of the things that you expect.
Right.
How do you lay off these people, the toll booth workers?
Yeah.
Because you said that drivers were complaining of fuel prices and all those things. And you cannot take off some of the taxes that are there that can actually bring down the fuel prices so that it will translate to maybe, it will translate to, I don't know how to put it, it will cut off the burden on them.
Right.
Then you lay off people who were employed. Then you go back then to tax innocent women that you are supposed to take care of because you promise them a lot. Mm-hmm. So if you realize that you cannot translate your promises into reality, you don't go back to burden them with tax.
Okay.
Please, I want to urge that the government should take off the e-levy. The government should also provide jobs. Okay. I mean, sustainable jobs for the youth of this country. We are tired. Okay. You complete school for about 6-7 years and there's nothing for you to do. This is turning our youth into something else. So please, this is the only plea I have.
Moro, I haven't had my fair, but Moro.
To hand this document to government.
Right. Well, okay. I can do that for you. That shouldn't be a
behalf
problem.
of the people of land, the trade
Moro,
fair and the.
I've not had my.
By doing this, but Parker, just briefly because it's 10 o'clock and we have to go.
Thank you.
But there has been this clarion call for the president. Jen, I would need you to be very brief on this. There's been.
I was going to do the IMF. Because I've not had my share on the IMF.
Past that now. But I think there's been a clarion call on the president to address the nation. He's seen, because the numbers was not a joke. I mean, this is probably one of the biggest demonstrations I've seen in recent times. It was quite big, especially for the second day.
Very peaceful.
Would you, if you met the president, I mean, I don't know how regularly you're meeting the president, but would you advise that, look, Mr. President, I think you should address Ghanaians and let them know what's happening, because there's been lots of complaints about the economy and all the other issues they've mentioned. Do you think it's a good idea?
Moro, the president has representatives.
Okay.
And the various representatives of the president continually engage.
But when you look at the advanced countries, when you watch what happens in the advanced countries, you always have the president address the country when he believes that it matters most.
Moro, it's not a challenge.
Okay.
The president has representatives. And I believe very well that at the due time, the president would address the nation. But Moro, I think that the president has been extremely upfront with the good people of this country, taking that bold decision to go to IMF. And I believe that all of us collectively should embrace that decision.
Compelled.
To be honest.
He didn't have any option.
This is not something that has come about as a result of a compellation from any opposition leader. It's important that we put the context in place. Look, government has been working. You are aware. You saw the tweet that came. You saw the tweet. This is what happens. More. This is what happens when you pair me up with Arise Ghana people.
Oh, look at you.
They are interjecting.
They've been very friendly so far.
They've been charitable. But Moro, you see, if you look at it very well, from Monday, you saw the tweets that came from Mr. Gabi Asare-Otredako, leading a number of conversations from the private sector.
The Prime Minister.
You understand?
Prime Minister of Ghana.
And then afterwards, we go into the cabinet meeting, and the president has a conversation with the IMF leadership and instructs categorically that the finance minister should start a conversation for a program. And I believe very well that going forward, over the next few months, we'll see that our city will begin to regain its confidence, investor confidence.
No, it is not automatic. Don't
over
just say
the next few months.
Don't just say over the next few months. As it stands now, you
over
do
the
not
next
even have
few
a program.
Yes, no.
You are yet to actually
No.
determine the program you send to
Over the
IMF.
next few
So
months, the
next few months is what-
conversations.
please,
No.
Don't
You should put me- I'm an
determine
independent
that.
person of my view.
No.
Over the
And
next
you are the
few
government
months.
spokesperson on governance
Over
security.
the
Let me do
next
this.
few months. Over the next few months.
So when
those
are you arresting us? When are
It
you
is
arresting
not
us?
automatic.
Conversations would
Pongre,
Since
don't put
since
this
he's
news.
in charge of security, when are you arresting
Don't
us?
put this news on.
Palgrave, when are you arresting us?
Don't put it on your neck
Palgrave,
at all.
Palgrave,
It is
over-
not
Palgrave,
automatic.
over-
Palgrave, when are you
the
arresting
conversations
us?
are beginning.
It is not
My
automatic.
brother, the conversations are beginning.
No, you've now indicated
Palgrave,
an intention.
Palgrave,
You are yet
Palgrave,
to actually meet with the
Palgrave,
IMF.
yes, Palgrave.
And you
So
need to
the
now
conversations
begin
are
to
going to
organize
begin.
yourself internally before
Moro,
you do that.
Moro,
It will take
Moro, I want to ask
more than a
Palgrave.
few months.
They've not been able to arrest the CD and the dollar.
It will take more than a few months, please.
No, Parker hasn't told you.
Arresting
No,
us.
Parker hasn't told you he wants to arrest you.
No, but they've not been able to arrest the dollar. So I want to know.
I can
we are
understand.
here. The dollar is in America, so
Yeah,
we
yeah,
are here.
let
My
me
fear
do
for
this.
him is that such a nice gentleman shouldn't be able to pick some of
Let
these things.
me do this. Let me do this, guys. Let me do this. Just briefly. This one from Ken from Adenta says, "Good morning, lovely show. I'd suggest we sell Ghana to the Chinese. The government says our leaders are clueless." But this one says, "My first time of watching from Tamale North. I'm stuck, Mohammed Maliba." And this one, good morning, Moro. Please, the mobile money agents who were initially exempted from e-levy when transferring their capital from agent SIM to the banks or working cash are now being charged e-levy. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yes. The merchant accounts are now being charged e-levy.
Serious?
So the whole conversation, because I remember when the whole levy came, and most
You
of
know
us
some
that
of
contribute
them
to
were
work in certain
exempted.
industry
Yeah.
made a lot of noise about the fact that it was going to impact it. It's merchant accounts, you are not being taxed. Now from 1st July.
It's now.
Moro,
It says,
Moro,
"I wonder
Moro,
how
Moro,
this
please,
government can
Moro,
achieve."
Moro,
One second,
is it
please.
true that IGP says he's paying for the injured people?
Yes, we heard that.
Selom Dramani is
lie.
one of the leading members.
You should pay for
He
it.
was shot.
You should pay
Me,
for it.
my hand.
Okay.
There's
This
no
tear
proof
gas,
that
this
there's
tear
no
gas
proof that
is
Selom was
starting.
shot.
Okay.
I've
This
asked
is-
Selom.
this
I've
is
asked
You want
my
IGP to
dressing.
take care of your
So who
medical
has
debt?
I don't want his money. I want his resignation.
Okay,
I've
all right.
asked Selom
So
to
I wonder how
show
this
me
government
a
can
medical
achieve-
report.
I want.
So who has he paid for?
I wonder
What's he
how
paid
this
for?
government. Please hold on. I wonder how this government can achieve their target because, as it stands now, most Momo agents are cash stranded, hence can't even serve their customers. In fact, e-levy charges on agent transfer daily daily far outweighs the profit we make daily. Hence, not reasonable to stay in business. Please come to our aid. Ruben Rain from Pando. This one from Aristotle Adoba says, "GM to our leaders, Arise Ghana. I can say this is a historical event and it's very clear that our uproar of the youth is showing a certain sign to Akufo-Addo and his police that we are not cowards and we can't be cowed for his tyranny and his aristocratic ruling we're seeing today. It's also intriguing that we have the president and his liquid team having been inept and have no credibility and clue." It goes on and on and on. Good morning, Moro. Things fall apart in Ghana. Time for the politicians to put these heads together and solve the numerous problems we have. Set their priorities right and stop the patapa and arrogance. MPP under Nana has been a disaster. That's from Kwekwe Rich and Owenya. Now, I'm sorry I can't read all your messages because we ran out of time. I have about 30 more and I should have been reading them at the very start of the show.
Out of the 30, how many are pro-government?
No,
It looks
most
like
of
Ghanaians are
them have
heavily
not been
against-
too charitable to the government. But anyway, so what's next? What's next? Just briefly, a few seconds. What's next?
I think that the
First of all, what region are you going next? You've done Accra.
on Monday, hopefully,
You're
there
gonna
will be a
meet.
press release from
Okay.
the leadership.
All right.
Announcing the series of demonstrations that would happen across the country. And we are hopeful that now that they know that we are peace-loving people, that we are able to organize decent, demonstrations when the police and agent provocateurs are not put up to the party political policing that we saw on day one,
Okay.
that we would have all Ghanaians having a voice.
Okay.
Indeed, I can see you're looking at that document.
Yep.
That one is on the trade fair specific. And I
Okay.
want to say that the Lakpa Wuloma and the Wulome came. They said that they had poured libation for the demolition of the trade fair. They had poured libation for the demolition of the La General Hospital. And were told that in a very short time, these will be rebuilt. And they are so disappointed that it had not been rebuilt. Okay. This document contains signed board minutes by Magdan, that shows how they were going to steal trade fair lands, how they had taken an international competitive tender process won by a Ghanaian company and handed it over to a sole source Singaporean company, supervised by the president at Dubai. In Dubai, you watched him. The president was in Dubai. A $1 billion contract is supposed to be coming. Now, that is a foreign arrangement that must necessarily go through Parliament. We will see and we'll all listen and follow the debate. But it's been sent, a petition has been sent to the Speaker, and we are hopeful that the Lands Subcommittee, Select Committee of Parliament and the Trade and Industry Select Committee of Parliament will look into this dubious thing that includes an award prepayment of David Ajayi again. It's all in there. How they handpicked him, how they are prepaying him. Look, every single item that we picked in our community engagements will be worked on. Documents like this will be produced and sent to the appropriate quarters. We know how to run a government, and we will not use violent means. The terrorists must be fought by the Ghana army.
Okay, all right.
We are not the terrorists.
Chris, you made that point already. I want to thank you very much. I think you've said it all.
Right.
Monday, though, is going to be a press statement, and we're all going to find out what is going to be next. So I want to thank you very much for joining us.
didn't have a closing
Okay, final comment.
Give the vote
Final
of
comment,
thanks.
sir.
Vote of
I
thanks.
thought that his views on the IMF was his final comment.
Yeah, well, yes.
I'm going to have my final words. Well, I think that finally the Ghanaian people should continually ensure that they support President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo.
Oh, I thought you said support
in
Arise
this
Ghana.
in this quest. And I can also assure the Ghanaian people that going to the IMF
Most of the
and going
commentators
through
have
the
gone
IMF
quiet since the
program.
IMF was
He's the only
announced. In fact,
one.
we've spoken to them. They say they don't want to talk. Why?
I'm not aware
They're
of that.
disappointed.
Now, I want to assure the Ghanaian people. I want to assure the Ghanaian people as well.
Arise, Ghana,
I want
youth,
to
for
assure the
your
Ghanaian
country.
people that this IMF program that our government is going through, we will definitely finish this IMF program before President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo
Is it incompetent to
hands
go to
over
IMF?
power.
All right.
Is it incompetent to go to IMF?
Thank you very much, Pagrib Washidankwa, who is the government spokesperson on governance and security. I also want to thank Sadiq Abdullahi Abu. He is a member of Arise Ghana. He's also a private businessman. I also want to thank Hidayah Ibrahim. She is the National Women's Organizer of the PNC, also a member of the Arise Ghana, and also Prince Derek Ajay, who is a chief. But also a
Hey, I
member
beg
of,
you. My father is a chief.
Okay.
I'm a
well,
prince.
he's a royal, actually. And also a member of Arise Ghana. My name is Audu Moro. Thank you very much for joining us. Those of you whose messages I couldn't read, I'm so sorry. I'll make sure that I read the messages much earlier next week, Saturday. But next week, Saturday is going to be big. You know, the MPP is going for its National Delegates Congress, and so it's going to be big. I mean,
That's going to be rowdies.
lots of things are going to happen. This is the place to be. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye-bye.